All right. Good morning. Hello,
Good morning.
everyone. I'm Amy Johnson, Values and Idea Integrator, and I'm here with my friend and co-facilitator of the Discover Your Core Values workshop, Sheila Arthur, and our guest. And we are here for our monthly live, which is where we talk about living our values every day, or as I like to say, love. It's a radical act of love. Living our values every day is a radical act of love. We'll practice that each month, so it's fun. And this month's theme, we are talking about values and playing full out and how to move past any form of perfectionism or good enoughness to be able to step outside our comfort zone, and how our values can provide an excellent tool to help us live our best life in the most incredible ways. Before we get into the topic, though, I find it's really important each month to remind ourselves, because it helps me to just remind ourselves what we're talking about in this space when we talk about values. So what are core values? Core values are single words or short phrases that connect us to our authentic and truest selves. They are a bridge between our innermost self and then how we relate to the outside world. So they provide for us in an instant an answer to what's going on for us inside and be able to apply it to whatever we're doing in the outside world. They act as our inner compass to direct where we want to go. And most importantly, they direct how we're going to get there, which is why it's so important when we're talking about moving through discomfort and out of our comfort zones, because our values can really help direct how that goes and what that looks like out in the world and in life. And there is no right or wrong with values. These are your values. We don't tell you what they are. We engage you in a process, if you so choose, to decide and discover what your values are. But there are no right or wrong values. They're your values, and then you apply them. And it's how you choose to live them that matters. And that's what we get to talk about here. So Sheila, anything to add to that bit of introduction?
It's always a beautiful introduction and reminder about what core values are. And I say this every month at some point. It always is so rich to have this conversation about values, because it reinforces for me what I'm doing that is making a difference. So I'm focusing on them. And each time we have this topic, whatever the topic is, it just is like, so it always applies to exactly what's happening now. And I get to reflect in a new way. So I'm really excited about today.
Yes, I'm so excited to be here too with you. And just a reminder that we use our values all the time, whether or not we're conscious of it, because we act in our lives automatically, very often, habitually. And when we bring the unconscious conscious by talking about our values and identifying them and then living them, we go from automatic to present. We go from impulsive to pause. And in those moments, we then can really connect to ourselves, and it feels different when we do that. And we'll be able to talk about that a little bit more today. So I want to take this opportunity to welcome our guest, Cherise. Hi, welcome. We're so glad you're here. You've taken our workshop before, so we're thrilled to check in with you again.
Yes, it's been a while, and I unfortunately I work so much. Every time you have your meeting, I'm usually at work, but today's Saturday and I am here and available, and I am so happy to gain some new information and just to be reminded of my values, because I guess because I do work so much, I tend to go from day to day on that, that 9 to 5 and that 5 to 10 schedule. I tend to just, like clockwork, just go along with life. But sometimes you need to stop and reflect. So yeah, I'm glad that I was able to make the meeting, so that way I can get some more valuable information and just kind of like recharge
Yeah, like reset. I'm so happy you're here, and you said it exactly right. We all do that, kind of go on that automatic of our lives. And that's why it's important to take the moment to do that. So I'm glad. That's why we do the 11th of the month, because it changes what day it is. So people with different schedules, eventually it'll come on a Saturday or Sunday. And we'll be able to invite people who can't normally during the week and vice versa. So it's a joy to see your beautiful face and to check in with you again. And Kim, I don't know if you're able to say hi or not, but we're glad you're here too, because you're making breakfast.
I'm all set.
Oh, good.
So good morning, and thank you for extending the invitation and dropping it in the chat. The topic is very close to my heart. I definitely believe in living a values-based life, and of course, not perfect with it. We're all work in progress every day. But in this season, it's very important to me that the things that I do are aligned with my values. So I'm a student of learning more, open to learning more about it. Thank you for the invitation. And I love that it's on the 11th. That is
It's our 11/11, which, it's a spiritual alignment is really what it is. We talk about alignment. I like the numbers because of that. And we actually launched it on the 11th month, kind of by accident, kind of not. It was
we did. Yes, that's right.
Well, it was the 11th of the 11th month at 11 a.m. Pacific time. So, yeah. Unexpectedly. So, and Andrea, welcome. Nice to have you here. We invite you to turn your camera on, but you do not have to if you're not comfortable doing that. And if you want to say hello, we'd great. Or if you can't talk, you can also put in the chat that you can't talk. We know some people just want to come and listen. So it is all up to you if you can hear us. Okay, great. So today's theme, oh, hi there. I see your name in the chat. Great. Wonderful to hear from you. Welcome. We just shared a bit about why everyone's here and a little bit of what core values are. And I'll have a recording too. So if you put your email in the chat, I'm happy to send that to you after. So core values and playing full out or taking risks in our life, healthy risks in our life. How do they all work together? I found in working with my clients and for the past 11, 12 years and living my life myself too, that there are three primary ways that I find core values help me move through those places where I'm really uncomfortable, taking a healthy risk, getting outside my comfort zone, all of those kinds of things. The first one is I tend to lean on the perfectionism side of things. So if I do it, I want to make sure, it's seeking security in that way. Everything is okay. Everything is perfect. It has not served me well. It has been, I can tend to overthink too. So the perfectionism and trying to make everything just so can keep my life very small. And what I found is that perfectionism is still there. But when I shift the focus to my values, it focuses me on the inside. It helps me recognize and connects me to me and what's important to me, not the expectations of other people, what their judgments may be, their evaluations, and just generally feeling attacked or whatever the word is, or fear of that. It takes it away from all of that because it really helps me go inward and get clear about myself. What does that look like? When I have to be out and about doing a speech or a talk out in the world, I often will feel uncomfortable to do that. Even just joining Toastmasters, which I have some of our fellow Divapreneurs, our Toastmasters group on this call or on this Zoom. Even joining that was outside of my comfort zone. That was not something I was clear about that I wanted to do, but it was important for me to do. And I relied on my value. At that time, it would have been integrity, because I had said that I'm behind the scenes quite often. I had said I want to speak more articulately, and I had done 1 or 2 panels, but felt like I could do better. And so because I kept saying that, I wanted to actually show up and do that. So integrity really helped me show up in the room and stay, not leave. And so I was able to rely on that, in a sense of not worrying about if someone liked me or not, or if they liked what I had to say, or if I twitched too much or didn't quite get it right, said too many ums and ahs, because they count your ums and ahs. Those things can start to be really scary in the beginning, or what a table topic was. So it allowed me to just focus on, I want to do this. It's within me to speak my truth, to speak out there. How can I do that better? And I said I was going to do this, so I'm going to do this. So my integrity helped me focus there than worrying about the judgment on the outside. The second way that my values can help me move through something is to motivate me. In a similar way, if I focus on my values, it helps me move through something I don't want to do. So if I have an event for work in the Valley on a Friday night, and I know I'll be sitting in traffic for an hour both ways, I find it in my values as a way to move through that. And the way that looks like, or what that looks like for me is, let's say I was invited to the Valley for a dinner party with colleagues. My value of flourish helps me want to be out and about, seen, be with other people, get out of my house. It's been harder since post-COVID. But when I remember flourish, that means I'm sitting in my car, listening to music, because flourish is also about fun for me, or talking to a friend and smiling. So I'm not focused on the traffic. I'm focused on me and being happy, because I know why I'm doing that and how I want to do it, how I want to show up is through flourishing. And then the third way is through groundedness. Because when we're stepping outside our comfort zone, it helps to feel grounded. And we talk about the core values as being an inner compass, and they help direct us. And that's there wherever we are in our comfort zone. Whether we stay in our comfort zone, we go out of our comfort zone. And if you haven't noticed, once you go out, then there's a new level and another level and another level. So each level that you go out, it gets further and further. So it helps us do that. So grounding us in our values means we take them with us, whichever level we're on, and that's something familiar we know that we can rely on as we step into a new experience. So whether that's starting as a Toastmaster and then being on the TEDx stage, it comes with us as each of those elements get a little bit more exposed and riskier. And I can rely on connection, connecting to myself, which is one of my values, relying on flourish and enjoying the process, relying on integrity to do my work and prepare and show up fully. And then connection, connecting to myself in the process directly. So when we know and name our values and have a clear idea what our set of core values are, the 5 to 7 set, we can then use them in these situations that give us a toolbox to do things in our life that we weren't sure we could ever do, because we know we have a reliable tool that we can turn to in many different aspects. So it would be, as I said, focusing on ourselves, coming back to connecting to who we are, what matters to us is the first way, getting away from the perfectionism of external judgment. The second would be motivating us, finding a different way to motivate us rather from an intrinsic way. So it gives us an intrinsic motivation about why we're doing it and the how we do it. It puts a smile on our face, hopefully. And then the third way is to ground us in our center, ground us in our presence and who we are, and being able to then move into new things with all of that said. So those were things that I have been thinking about in terms of values. And as I step into my own life and my own work, into new things, new experiences I haven't had before, to use my values as such a tool to help me do that and do it well and in a joyful place. Sheila, do you want to add anything to that?
That was just so, that was very eloquently stated. I love the way that you talked about particularly the grounding part, and also just having that sense of, this is what I really want. This is so important to me that I want to find a way to get beyond the fear and the sense of, oh, I'm being judged, and the perfectionism and all the things that happen. I was thinking about this. I got this kind of graphic illustration from a colleague of mine about the whole comfort zone piece. And there's it's like we're in our comfort zone, and then the next level out is the fear zone, right? So we get into the fear zone, and the fear zone is a place where we do have that lack of self-confidence. It is when we're being kind of very hypercritical or really concerned about what other people are thinking. And it's like knowing that when you're moving through these, and it's not necessarily linear, because you can go back and forth, you can be in the comfort zone and all of a sudden you're in the fear zone, then you're in the comfort zone again, and your comfort zone expands and everything else. And then you move beyond the fear zone. And what you're talking about too is like getting into the learning zone. So that's a zone where now it's like, okay, I want to be better at speaking. I want to be better at doing whatever else it is. I want to flourish. So I know that I may need to develop some new skills. I may need to try out some new things. I feel okay about that. I'm like feeling happier about that because I know that it's leading me somewhere that I really want to go, right? So it's like, that's a beautiful place to be. And then finally into the growth zone, which is taking it like a step further. Now we can just really anchor in our purpose and get very clear and kind of expand and have those dreams and other things. And it's not a linear process, but when she showed me the graphic, I realized how often I my step into the comfort zone, step out of the comfort zone, step into the fear zone. And then it's like, I go from the fear and then I move a little bit further. Okay, now I'm in the growth place. And I do also use my values in that same way, because right now, something that's really important for me, one of my values is to bring forth healing. And that's just healing in so many different ways. It's like what's happening in the world right now. And that sense of the false sense of separation that people feel, and that fear and that isolation that happens, and that sense of not being connected to oneself. It's like real establishing connection, doing that kind of work and stepping forth and being a conduit for healing that woundedness, for healing that sense of separation is like so huge for me that it's enabling me to kind of show up in a different way and to get out of my comfort zone and to get out of being focused on, oh, people are looking at me, to, something broader, right? I'm here to do something. I'm here to serve, right? I'm here to make a difference. I'm like one of the many lights in the world, right? That can make a difference for people. And so having that sense of what my values are, and then it's around growing and flourish, also leading with compassion, having presence, all of those things remind me that it's important for me to get out of my own way, stay out of the comfort zone as much as I can, and keep moving forward, towards something bigger. So yeah, I just absolutely love this.
Yeah, beautifully said. And what I heard you say is just how powerful it is for you. And you do that. You do heal through your values and through how you live your life, which is the values in action.
Right. Because sometimes it's just a demonstration for people. Sometimes it's not like holding yourself up in a certain place, but it gives people permission sometimes to like take risk, or to be vulnerable, or to show up in a slightly different way, right? Or to have that sense of kindness or compassion. It just reminds people that, oh yeah, I could be like this in the world, right? And if I can do that, that's huge. That's huge. Right. And I get that too. I'm inspired as well by other people and by what they're doing. And it's like, oh, it gives me permission to step out even more. It's like, okay, right. We're in this together, right? We're making a difference together.
Yeah, it's so true. Beautifully stated. Thank you for that visual too. I do think it is I see so much of it as a spiral, the comfort, and then the fear, the growth. The fear, I think, comes back. Then, oh yeah. Learning, and then the growth, it's nonlinear and it repeats itself, goes backwards and forwards and all the way around. So
I love that. I love the spiral. I love the spiral because I always think about the spiral staircase, right? How our lives unfold and how we come across the same issues, but we come across them from a different vantage point. Like we're always on that spiral staircase, right? Looking at it from a different perspective. And it changes things. It's the same stuff, but we're changed. And it changes our perspective. It changes how we can then deal with it and manage it and then move through it. And so it's really kind of, I love that spiral. And that's just a very organic kind of imagery. This is about life and just the cycles and everything else. I just love that. Thank you for that.
yeah.
Hi,
Cynthia.
Cynthia.
Kim, would you like, I see your comment in the chat. Would you like to unmute and that's a great conversation if you are up for it.
Sure, why not? As you both were talking about the fear, like the cycle, I agree with the cycle of fear, and then you get a little bold and you step out and all that. But I feel like the fear never really leaves. We just learn to function with, like I just learned to function within the fear that I have to admit that, yes, I am a little bit afraid to do this, like to discuss the comment that I put in the chat. But I have to, if I want to support my values, I have to step out and, mute the fear, but keep going forward. And then it pops its head up, different places. So I know that it's there, but it doesn't have the power to be up front right now.
Right. Yeah, I think that's really true. I definitely relate to that too. It doesn't necessarily all go away. It's a dial. And so the dial does, I don't know if I ever mute it fully, but I can turn it down enough to be able to move through it. And then where the values come in is they're the through line. So even when something doesn't work out, because I think it's the perfectionism and the fear of failure is so powerful to me. I don't think of myself that way, but I feel that way inside. Like I don't feel like I have a fear of failure, but it comes up. And then I sometimes just have to swipe left with my thoughts too, just not even go down that rabbit hole and just dial down the fear to focus on, okay, I'm doing this because like Sheila was talking about, because it's important to me. It's who I am to talk about this in this way. And if it gets a little bit, fear of rejection, right? They may not be ready. Cynthia, I think, said that at one point to me, right? That people aren't always ready to hear what you have to say with your new ideas. At the same time that you're saying them, it may take people longer to digest them. And I'll want the reaction right away. So my fear is I'm being rejected, but I just have to pause because the fear is also not reliable. What's reliable is the values, the how, the support team around me, the learning, as Sheila mentioned, and continuing through that. But sometimes it's that fear and being able to identify it, saying, "Oh, hi, fear. I see you're there," and then being able to kind of like, okay, I'm going to turn you down and I'm going to, turn up flourish, which is literally for me turning up the music and, putting on some Earth, Wind and Fire and dancing around the kitchen to September or something, and that will shift out of the fear. Does that resonate with you, Kim?
It actually does, very much so. Like one of my values is extending grace myself and to others. And Cynthia reminded me today to turn up the grace to myself. Kind of helps me smash down that perfection thought.
Right.
That, to give myself grace, that things don't have to be perfect. They just have to move forward, like progress over perfection, and to give others grace. Sometimes when I'm a little bit irritated by something, like could I extend grace to that person in that moment, because we never know what others are going through.
Right.
So
yeah. Especially, yeah. It's so cute. That's beautiful. That's really beautiful. one of my values is gratitude and grace. So I relate to that. And one of the things we do, which is in the values workshop, is we define what the values mean to us. So I encourage you to, if you are up for it, write that about extending grace, because it's in the description where we remember that it's about extending grace to ourselves, extending grace to others, extending grace to nature, to our day, to all of our interactions. And so when we take that time to actually say, okay, this is my value and this is how I describe it, it really helps remind ourselves of the different aspects of it. And for connection, for me, is like that, because it's a multi-level kind of a big value for me. I mean, they're all big, core value of mine, but it has different levels to it that I can apply to different situations, which I know for me works because it's my definition. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, I love what you said, Kim, about muting the fear, like the attempt to mute the fear. I mean, there are moments when that happens, or clear moments when I can just step into an experience and not have the presence of fear. It's not all the time, it's sometimes. And then I know that fear becomes something, I mean, it's like even extending grace in that sense. It's like, oh, the fear is there, but it's like, all right, it's okay. I could still move through this, right? I could still move forward, having the fear, because there's something bigger on the other side of that, right? And I love that piece too about the extending grace to yourself, because it's such a compassionate and kind thing to do. Because we're all human, right? We're all on this journey, and there is no perfectionism. There's just the striving, and there's the moving forward, and there's a growth that happens. And sometimes we're just doing the best that we can, and we just have to just allow for that and be okay with that, right? I just love that. It's a beautiful reminder.
Absolutely. Cynthia, did you want to say something? You need to unmute.
Oh, no. Cynthia, you're still muted. You're saying some gorgeous things, but you're muted. I can see it in your face.
I said, I always have a lot to say when I come to your values course. I love it so much, and I always take away a lot. I think values trump everything. If you have your values, you don't have to focus on the fear. And when I say focus on the fear, I think we need to change our F words, okay? From fear to focus to flourish, okay? If we can move in those directions and leave our frenemy, perfection behind. Because if we don't change our F word and leave that frenemy behind, we won't accomplish what we have to accomplish for the world. Because see, we are all here on assignment, no doubt. Amy's supposed to teach us values. I'm supposed to be this chatterbox that I've always been and consumed with information and thoughts and things like that. But it reminds me of a time when I had some fears, and if I didn't overcome those fears, I wouldn't have progressed to where I am today. One fear I had was, for some reason, my legs would hurt, and I was worried about being on a ski bus and could not stretch out my legs, because I had these thoughts that, oh, if I can't stretch out my legs, I'm just going to go into this pain and something's going to happen. But I joined that ski club and got on that ski bus anyway. And those pains never, ever manifested itself. They might have been there a while ago, and I did try and hold on to that fear. But until I changed my F word to flourish, then that's what I started to do by getting on that bus. All kinds of things happened for me after joining that ski club. Another fear I had was of heights. So within the ski club, we did a lot of activities, and I wanted to be a part of the group. I wanted to absorb what I needed to absorb from the associations there. So we went to Six Flags, and there was this water park, and there was this ride called Dropout. So I could have done two things that day: sat there on the grass while everyone else was probably changing their F words, and talk about how I can't do that, and oh, I could never do that. Oh, I just can't do it because this and that is going to happen to me. But what I did, I walked with that group and I said, let me go first. So we climbed, I climbed and climbed and climbed up, and I got to the platform and I laid down and folded my arms. The guy said, just fold your arms and don't move. And then he pushed me swoop down, and you kind of lift off of the slide a little bit. But guess what I know? That no one is gonna develop a ride that's gonna kill anybody. So that ride is timed fast enough for, if a person did have fears, they can't react on it. Because of the force that's bringing you down, you don't have a time to get up and say, I'm afraid, I got to get off. It's designed to go just straight down. It's over in a matter of seconds, and you get up, and guess what? I did well. So it's about changing your F word. And when I'm invited to participate or to be a leader, believe me, a lot of times I don't have all the skills that I need, but I'm going to change that F into flourish, because you know what? I want the education. I want the skills. I want the knowledge, because if I didn't get that opportunity and was not called to that opportunity, I can't complete my assignment that I am here for. So I just want us all to think about that, and please applaud Amy and Sheila for continuing their values. I have told Amy this before. I don't care how many people come up, show up. It only takes one person. If you're giving a speech, it doesn't matter if they get it or not, because sometimes they'll get it. It goes into their toolbox, and they'll use it whenever they need it. And then they'll say, oh yeah, I heard Amy Johnson speaking about this and that. They may be at a dinner with high-level executives. What was her name and what was she talking about? We're here to inspire people. The last thing, because I don't want to dominate this, if we do not turn the fear, it's all right. It's all right to have it, because it makes us react. And add the word, or change the word to flourish. We won't be able to save a person's life. We won't be a credit to saving a person's life.
Right.
We won't. We don't know who's where, when on this call. We just don't know.
Yeah.
So if we don't have these calls and these values, see, thought provokers like Amy and Sheila and world changers, game changers, put in your advertisement, changing the world, the change maker. You don't, when you put out advertisement, about being the greatest, you're manifesting it and you're telling everybody. Nobody can prove it. So don't get caught up in, no, I haven't been that yet, and I haven't done that yet. Oh, no, I can't say that about myself. Well, if you can't say it about yourself, well, then who else will? Why not you? So we are all these world leaders, game changers, thought provokers. Let's keep values at the forefront. Amy.
Beautiful. That's fantastic. Yes, it's a mini speech. I just love it. Cynthia is so good at doing. Oh my goodness, you're so brilliant at that. I love that F, changing the F word, and so many things that you said just resonated so deeply. You know, around just getting out of the fear, and from that fear to focus to flourish is a beautiful, beautiful metaphor. It's a beautiful kind of string of thinking about just like all that's available to you when you choose to do that. And I was particularly moved too about changing somebody's life, because, oh my God, you know, we each have the opportunity to do that. And you never know how you touch somebody's life and what a difference you make, because it may not be apparent in the moment. It may be something that they're struggling with, or something, like you said, that they think about it at some point later on, and it lands in there, and then they realize something months later, weeks later, however long, it doesn't matter. But the fact that you were there to speak it, you were there to be like a testament, you were there to share it, is so important. And our work here is so important. All of us have important work to do. All of us are on assignment. So every time we move out of the fear and show up, it just helps to change the narrative. It helps to change the perspective. It helps to change somebody's life, to save somebody's life even. And that's sacred work. That's like powerful. That's like, oh my gosh, that's the best.
Well said. But I fully agree with that. And the fear, recognizing the fear. I was thinking about this week a lot when we were talking about mindset shift about the Ocean Day and the environment. And there's a lot of talk, because I know I can get into the fear of what's happening in the environment and the world and the climate. And almost all of the issues we have are fear-based issues. And so being able to shift out of the fear, and this is how the values help. It helps us not have to take in the 24-hour media bombardment of fear that comes our way. And the values can help us focus on what we can do. How can we connect to nature? This is what I've been hearing. How do we love nature? This is the interconnectedness of the ocean. How do I love the ocean? How do I love? And what are our values? Our values are the things that are important to us, that matter to us, that are our love. So there's that cycle. So it's shifting from that fear, which you so well articulated, Cynthia, of going from fear to focus to flourish. And that will save each of us, because our health is interconnected to the health of the oceans, interconnected to the health of the environment, of the world, all of this. So, and there's where our values lie. That's the bridge. That is that moment. That is the how to do that. And it's important to remember that, because the fear can be paralyzing. And the fear of doing anything, especially when it comes to the environment or anything like that, right? The fear of judgment, of not doing enough, or doing it not, if you're a company, because I work with brands and companies too, and the fear of being attacked for not doing it well can get to that perfectionistic paralysis, which serves no one. So it's all of us on the individual level and on the corporate level to shift from that fear to focus to flourish. So I love that. And the values help us do it. That's how they do it. And having the conversation around that is powerful. So thank you for sharing that today. It does save a life, and hopefully it'll save all of our lives. on the planet.
Mhm.
Sharice, not to put you on the spot, do you have any questions or any thoughts or anything you've been thinking about or with your values you want to touch base on?
Yeah, sure. Of course, when we first started talking about the fear, it was kind of like, how do I get out of that fear zone, But when Cynthia came in and she just shared that we need to change the F word, and it's almost kind of like an instant, like, okay, change the F word from fear to get focused to flourish. Because as she says, we're all on assignment. We're all here to do something special. We all have special talents inside of us that we share with people. I just happen to love teaching, and I enjoy teaching. I never know how much of an impact I have on my students, but from time to time, I get after class, oh, thank you, Miss Z, thank you. Oh, that was so helpful. So it's to me, I guess my next step, or how I can apply this, is because I have this certain fear of trying to finish my speeches, trying to finish my paths for my Toastmasters, and coming up with speeches to do. So that was, I guess, that was the next hurdle that I was thinking of trying to tackle. But I'm just going to look at it and trying to change that fear into trying to focus and flourish, because it is a way to where it's a mindset change, as we discussed earlier. It's a total mindset change, and you have to change that mindset in order to step out of that fear zone, to step into that comfort zone. So this has been so helpful, just to conversating with you ladies. Yeah, definitely some nuggets of wisdom here.
Yeah, so well put too. Thank you for sharing that. And the fear pops up in so many ways you wouldn't expect, right? And the stories we tell ourselves, and trying to, are we good enough to get it done? And are we delivering what we hope to deliver, and all that? I have a question for you, Sharice, not to put you on the spot. Are you open to me asking about your values, and wondering if there were any of your values that would be helpful in your fear around Toastmasters? Is there one that you have that would help you with that fear that you shared with us?
One of my values is inspire. Mm-hmm. So I feel that, I am a motivator. I feel comfortable trying to inspire people around me. That's why I do have a love for teaching. I always want to, I'm a cheerleader, so I want to cheer you on. And I think that something that I could probably try to apply to my next chapter in Toastmasters, as far as completing my levels, my education paths, and just needing a little help and a little push, and maybe asking for help. I think I'm very hard on myself, I think, and I struggle with perfection as well, which I like the term that you said, progress over perfection, and maybe that's something I need to kind of change my focus as well. So, but I have a hard time asking for help, because I think that I should know this. I should know how to do this.
Right.
I don't know. So That's a little bit what.
It's so insightful. Thank you. And there's an acronym for SHAME. Should have already mastered everything. Right? And that can stop us in our tracks. That we should have already known how to do this. That happens to me quite often. And so it's a good reminder to call it out, because sharing about it dissipates it in the with safe people, of course.
Yes.
Safe way.
Yes.
And thank you for sharing your value of inspire, because that is one where you can, when Cynthia talked about focus on inspire yourself. What do you want to speak about that feels inspirational? What would you want to say to others to inspire? That's actually even a activity in the pathway, how to inspire your audience. That was what one of the speeches, the objective of one of the speeches. So instead of I have to do my Toastmasters path, how can I bring inspiration to meet that with inspiration and use it for yourself? Not worry, don't put the pressure on yourself to inspire the audience, that will come. But start with how do you use inspire for you to want to do it? And that's where your focus can shift from the fear. Like, oh, I want to be inspired. I want to pick topics that inspire me. And so give yourself the gift of your own inspiration for inspire. And then it can help move towards the inspiring others, if that's one of your values. And that's how you can how to use the values to help move through the fear into the other ideas and move through it. Does that make sense to you? Yeah. It doesn't look like you're muted, but I can't hear you. I don't know why. I don't know, my computer has some type of 10-second delay. If I'm not speaking, then it doesn't pick up the first word that I actually say. So I have to kind of say a couple words before it actually the volume kicks in. But Andrea had a question in the chat. Would you like to address that? Sure. That's a great question. Sheila, do you want to answer? You want me to answer?
Go for it.
Okay, great. Andrea, thank you for asking. I don't know if y'all can see, but it says, how does one determine their values? It's such an important question, obviously, because this is what we talk about here, is living our values. So a key piece to living your values is identifying them, discovering them, knowing what they are, and then clarifying them. So we do offer workshops, work one-on-one with people to help them. I have a process I created that helps people determine their authentic values. It's an inside-out process rather than just picking something. And even prior to that, though, you don't have to do it only that way. We find that it's a helpful tool to use the process. But begin noticing when you feel joyful or excited or happy, and connect yourself to what's happening in that moment, and begin to notice what it is that is that part of you. When your emotions can be an important clue to what your values are. So if you start with when you notice joy or excitement, then you can begin to see what it is you're valuing in the moment. Let's say you take a hike with a friend and you're out in nature and you're feeling that exuberance, that excitement, that joy. You're a value that you can start to see, oh, maybe it's the joy of being out in nature. Maybe it is showing you a value of connection with another, or a sense of belonging because you're with nature and a friend. And it doesn't have to be just one. It's just beginning to notice and begin to get specific about what it is in that moment. It also could be a moment when you're feeling satisfied, fulfilled, accomplished. What happened in that moment that you can point to that helped you identify that you were having that feeling of satisfaction? What was it in that moment? Did you write an article and put it out there in the world? Even if you were afraid, you did it. You cannot talk about, oh, I want to speak my truth. Oh, I want to spread my ideas and share my ideas with the world? Is it connecting with others, being brave, courageous? So you can begin to identify the pieces to that that are important to you, which is where your values lie. And then another moment that's important is when you feel disconnected or dissatisfied. The first time I connected with my values was a time in my life when I wasn't living them at all. And I had to really see the contrast to be able to go, oh, I'm in a career and business that doesn't match who I am as a person. And then I began to explore what it is. And that's when my value of integrity really showed up for me. So it's those moments of disconnection, rather than judging them, going, oh, wait, there's something off here. It's using that noticing to help identify what's happening. But it's more, but then it's naming it. It's taking another step further and going, okay, it's this aspect of what I'm noticing that's disconnected. It's this aspect of being out with a friend in nature that I'm enjoying. It's going a little bit deeper than just noticing the joy. It's like taking it one step further and going, it's this part of it that I love. But it's a noticing. So that's how you can start in your own life to do that. And then we offer workshops. And as I said, there's different ways to actually do that and to discover and be a part of our group that does it. Because it's really nice to do it with others that we can learn from.
Right. So much inspiration happens that way too, right? So much clarity and inspiration in that process of naming them and identifying them and really beginning to own them happens when we do that together.
Yeah.
Get inspired.
It's really powerful. And Sheila and I are going to do it next week in a business retreat. So we've been asked to do that for a corporate retreat, for a one-day corporate retreat here locally. So we're excited to offer this leadership group an opportunity to discover their values and be able to work with them in a different way. So we're excited about that. Yeah. So does that answer your question, Andrea? Or it's a big question, but it's the beginning of that. And we differentiate. The other thing I wanted to mention is we differentiate between core values and values. We all have a lot of different values, and we tend to operate from a set of core values, primarily 5 to 7. And beginning to, it's nuanced. It's not black and white, but being able to develop that 5 to 7 is really helpful, because then it becomes this tool to use in the ways that we're talking about here. So I'm glad you're asking, and you feel free. I don't know if you have my direct email, but you can certainly email me to ask more questions or to chat. And what did you ask? It's not every week, but it is every month. So it's every month on the 11th of the month at 11 a.m. So I can put that in the chat, and I'll put my email in there too.
Wow, the time has flown again.
Oh, wow, it's already noon. I know.
Yeah, right, it is almost, yes. And wow, what a rich conversation, what a rich discussion. What everybody's perspective is so valued and appreciated here, because it's like, oh my gosh. It's like 2 things that happened for me. One is that it's confirmation of this powerful work and how important it is. And it's also connection, because it's like, oh my goodness, we're all on this journey together, and there's so much similarity with our thought processes and where we're headed. And it gives me such a sense of comfort and comfort zone. This is a great place to be comfortable, and knowing that there are so many people out there who are making such a profound difference in people's lives with their values, living their values. And that's the thing that's going to change the world. So it's like, it's exciting, and it's really terrific to be in the presence of people who are doing that. So thank you for being here today.
So beautifully put. And any final thoughts anyone wants to share in the last minute or two? Quick 30 seconds. Who would like to say something?
I just want to thank both of you, Sheila and Amy, for hosting this values workshop. And I'm so glad that today, the 11th, falls on the Saturday and I'm not working, and I was able to connect with you guys because I got some really good ideas that's going to help me focus and flourish. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you,
So
Cynthia.
good to
Thank you,
see you
Kim.
too. Oh my goodness,
Thank
absolutely.
you, Andrea, for coming.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you, Andrea, Cynthia, Kim,
I would also like to
Amy.
say thank you. Thank you for the invite. It was definitely time well spent. Thank you for sharing it. It just reminded me to tap back into my values to stay in alignment. I think that was very, very good. Thank you, Cynthia, for sharing your wisdom, and Sharice as well. Great time spent.
Mhm.
And
It is
thank you.
Yeah, that was the purpose of this, to talk, to have a conversation, to begin to remember that we have the tools necessary to live the lives that we want to live and make our contributions and to connect with each other in this and have deep conversations out of the noise.
Yeah.
Yes, and we'll be doing it again on the 11th of next
Yeah,
month.
come join us again on the 11th if it works. I don't know what
Thank,
July 11th flies on.
thank you, Amy and Sheila and everybody else
Thank
for
you.
making this so special.
Thank you. Thank you, Andrea, for coming. We're glad you're here too. And feel free to reach out to us anytime for the recording. Okay, great. And if anyone else wants the recording, let us know. I'll probably post it. I usually post it in the community. Well, we'll see. So email me if you want it.
Yeah, let me know.
Okay, great. All right,
Thank
we're
you.
done. Have a beautiful Saturday.
Another beautiful
Yeah.
day. Thank you so
Have
much.
a nice day.
Everybody have a
Thank you
beautiful
again.
weekend.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.